conflict can be traced back to the pages of the Bible? It's a long-age story of great men, Israel and Ishmael, that seems unrelated. However, these narratives are deeply rooted in the religious and historical traditions of both the Jewish and Arab peoples and have played a significant role in shaping their complex relationship. Have you ever imagined what this unique relationship might be, despite the ongoing conflicts? Join us as we unveil the Bible origin of the Israel-Palestine War, the two warring sons of Abraham. The story begins with Abraham, a figure of immense importance in Judaism and Islam. According to the book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible, Abraham was a devout man who lived in the Ur of the Chaldeans, a city in ancient Mesopotamia. God chose him and his wife, Sarah, to be the parents of a great nation. However, Sarah was barren and could not bear children. Desperate to fulfill God's promise of progeny, Sarah suggested that Abraham father a child with her Egyptian maidservant, Hagar. This child was named Ishmael, and he is considered the forefather of the Arab people. Several years later, Sarah miraculously gave birth to Isaac, whom God declared to be the child through whom his covenant would continue. This created a familial rift and a sense of entitlement between Ishmael and Isaac, with each mother believing her son should be the heir to Abraham's blessings. The Bible tells of a jealous Sarah who eventually forced Hagar and Ishmael to leave their household, casting them into the wilderness. Moreover, in Genesis 16:12, God speaks of Ishmael, saying, "He shall be a wild man, his hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand shall be against him. He shall dwell in the presence of his brethren." These words set the course for what could be described as the greatest anarchy in human history, birthing the Bible origin of the Israel-Palestine War, Ishmael and Isaac, the two warring sons of Abraham. Ishmael, despite his near-death experience with his mother, went on to become the father of 12 princes. His lineage became prosperous and powerful, eventually occupying the vast lands of the Middle East, which are now known as Palestine, Jordan, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the whole Arab world. However, Abraham's promised son, Isaac, was born. He went on to father Jacob, who also had 12 princes. These princes would later form the nation of Israel, which has faced countless years of conflict and struggle. The birth of Ishmael caused the greatest anarchy in human history and set the stage for a conflict that persists today. From the descendants of Abraham, two nations arose, each with its destiny. Ishmael's descendants grew prosperously and shaped the Middle Eastern landscape known today as the Arab. These people spread across the Middle East, North Africa, and beyond, creating a diverse and complex cultural and religious tapestry. However, Isaac's offspring, Jacob, fathered 12 leaders. They, along with their families, went to Egypt but eventually became slaves. However, this was not the end of their story, as God sent Moses to rescue them, leading them out of Egypt and into their own destiny, forming the nation of Israel. They emerged as a nation from the ruins of slavery, holding on to the promise given to their forefather, Abraham, despite facing many challenges and fighting numerous battles. With divine support, they persevered through it all. King David, a man after God's heart, captured Jerusalem from the 7 Canaanite tribes, a place of great importance in God's plan. While Ishmael's descendants prospered and controlled the oil-rich lands, Isaac's descendants had to fight for their place, struggle for their destiny, and carve out a nation from the wilderness. Despite being in a region marked by conflict, they became a beacon of light. The nation of Israel has been molded into a resilient country through the trials and tribulations faced during its journey. Amid this historical clash of destinies, Jerusalem emerged as the epicenter of the conflict. It is a city that holds immense spiritual significance and rich history, having been the site of countless battles that echo the biblical narrative and divine promise made to Abraham. Also, Jerusalem was a highly coveted location in King David's time, being under the control of 7 formidable Canaanite tribes. However, with divine backing and military prowess, David seized the city, making it the political capital of his kingdom and the spiritual heart of the Israelites. Nevertheless, the battle for Jerusalem was far from over. Despite having survived sieges, invasions, and devastation, the city of Jerusalem still stands today as a testament to its resilience and enduring significance. It has seen the rise and fall of empires and remains a contested site, symbolizing the struggle between the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael and Israel and Palestine. In the present day, the dispute over Jerusalem has taken on a different shape, but the fundamental nature of the conflict remains unchanged. It is not limited to territorial disagreements or political power. It is rooted in faith, identity, and a deeply ingrained historical narrative that dates back to biblical times. The city, which was once home to the Temple of Solomon, where Jesus was crucified and where the prophet Muhammad is said to have ascended to heaven, remains a battlefield. Every stone in Jerusalem has a tale to tell, and every alleyway echoes the footsteps of countless prophets, kings, and conquerors. Despite the numerous wars and conflicts that have taken place, the city continues to be a source of spiritual inspiration for millions of people around the globe. Its spiritual importance transcends borders and conflicts, making it a central point in the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict. Jerusalem, the city of David, continues to be a disputed site and a symbol of the ongoing struggle between these two nations. Its story is far from over, and as history has demonstrated, its role in this narrative is paramount. The battle for Jerusalem is more than just a physical war. It is a struggle for history, identity, and destiny. However, the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine reflects a biblical narrative. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 in the heart of the Middle East was a significant event, fulfilling the dream of many Jewish people to have a homeland where they could live without fear of persecution. This event also marked the beginning of a new chapter in a long-standing biblical origin of the Israel-Palestine War, caused by Ishmael and Isaac, the two warring sons of Abraham. The conflict between Israel and Palestine has its roots in ancient biblical history. Following the atrocities of World War II, the world's powers sought to create a Jewish state in British-controlled Palestine. The Jewish leaders accepted the United Nations partition plan, which was rejected by the Arab nations and Palestinian leadership, setting the stage for a series of wars and conflicts that continue to this day. In addition, the Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence for Israelis and Nakba, or catastrophe for Palestinians, erupted soon after Israel declared independence in 1948. Despite being outnumbered, Israel emerged victorious, but the war resulted in the tragic displacement of Palestinian people, a wound that still aches today. In the present day, the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine reflects a biblical narrative. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 in the heart of the Middle East was a significant event, fulfilling the dream of many Jewish people to have a homeland where they could live without fear of persecution. However, this event also marked the beginning of a new chapter in a long-standing conflict. The conflict between Israel and Palestine has its roots in ancient biblical history. Following the atrocities of World War II, the world's powers sought to create a Jewish state in British-controlled Palestine. The Jewish leaders accepted the United Nations partition plan, which was rejected by the Arab nations and Palestinian leadership, setting the stage for a series of wars and conflicts that continue to this day. The Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence for Israelis and Nakba, or catastrophe for Palestinians, erupted soon after Israel declared independence in 1948. Despite being outnumbered, Israel emerged victorious, but the war resulted in the tragic displacement of Palestinian people, a wound that still aches today. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a complicated issue, with both sides carrying deep historical wounds and grievances. It is a war between two nations and a spiritual battle between good and evil, between Christ and the Antichrist. The future of this ancient conflict may also be found in the Bible, which chronicles its past. The prophetic pages of this sacred text provide us with a perspective that transcends our understanding of time and space. The conflict between Israel and Palestine, as seen through the lens of biblical prophecy, is not merely a political dispute over land rights. Instead, it is a crucial battle in a spiritual war, a fight between light and darkness that has been predicted since the time of Abraham. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus spoke of signs that would herald the end times. Wars and rumors of wars, he said, would be among the first. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East, particularly the strife between Israel and Palestine, seems to fit this prophecy, But it's not just about the clash of arms. It's also about the battle for Jerusalem, a city of profound spiritual significance to many faiths and an epicenter of the end times prophecy described in the Bible. According to the Bible, Jerusalem is where Jesus will rule in the millennial kingdom age. However, it is currently in the hands of Muslims, and they will have to be dispossessed to lay the ground for the rebuilding of the Third Temple. This event is a signpost on the road to the end times and a crucial part of the prophetic timeline. The tension between Israel and Palestine, particularly in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, is deeply rooted in history, religion, and prophecy, and it is unlikely to subside anytime soon. However, we must remember that the current situation is not just a war between two nations, but rather a conflict between good and evil, Christ and the Antichrist, and between the forces of light and darkness. These clashes are part of a larger divine narrative, a tapestry of prophecy woven over the centuries. It is important to note that these events are not just political or military struggles, but go as far back as the Bible origin of the Israel-Palestine War, Ishmael and Isaac, the two warring sons of Abraham. Hence, the story of the Israel and Palestine conflict involves complex political, social, and economic factors. As the conflict from the Bible's origin of the Israel-Palestine War, Ishmael and Isaac, the two warring sons of Abraham, rages on, one question remains: how long will it continue between these brothers? It is a complex question that needs to be answered while considering both sides' interests. However, for more explorations of rich biblical narratives, share, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.